Welcome to Minutes by Minutes. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we're here to talk about what goes on in the village, the township. You know those fellows and ladies that make regulations and laws that affect you out there.
That's right, Elgin. And whether you live in the village of Oxford, the village of Leonard, Addison Township, or Oxford Township, these are the people that you elected, and the commissions and the committees that make decisions that directly affect you, whether you chose to go to that meeting or not. And that's why we're here.
And we're here to spread rumors. And there is humor.
Yes, wonderful humor, sometimes at the top of the stack and sometimes at the bottom.
Yep, it can bubble up to the top or it can float like a bowling ball. And if you don't attend these meetings, like he points out, shame on you. You'll learn the humor. It'll sneak right up on you.
It's
right?
called Where'd That Tax Come From?
Right. Or you could say just yippee-yi-yay, it's a new tax.
I could have said something about that.
I could have, should have, might have. Anyway, let's go on to a couple of meetings. Actually, I wanted to recap a couple of meetings that went on the last time that we did our program. One was the Oxford Village Planning Commission, because we just didn't finish those particular items. They recognized the resignation for Bonnie Staley for the Planning Commission.
Oh,
so that was
right.
accepted, so she's leaving the Planning Commission. And also, let me see, a new business, a ZBA appointment was made. Rose Bima took on that responsibility as representing the Planning Commission. So I want you folks to know that this was going on as well.
This is all the village.
This is all in the village.
Okay.
The other item I wanted to mention is the Oxford Village Council. They did talk about Park Street, where, I don't know if we discussed that a while back, but where
Maybe.
they build a new home on top of the hill, and now water runs downhill and ends up in this guy's yard and in his basement.
From the new home?
From the new home, yep.
Because
the engineers, the contractors, when they built the home, the road didn't have enough pitch on it for the runoff. It didn't have a ditch for runoff and that kind of thing. Suba Sarda, who's the chair.
But now it does.
Yeah. The guy says, hey, you want to find the water? Come here, I'll show you where it's at. But anyway, apparently it's done over $8,000 worth of damage, or close to $8,000.
Oh, wow. And now he's paying extra taxes for lakefront property?
Well, he's probably thinking about selling this property, but he's lived there for quite a while.
I see.
I believe he's a school teacher or works in the school system some way or another. But anyway, so apparently his insurance didn't cover it because he doesn't have flood insurance.
Act of God? No.
Yeah, that doesn't work anymore, I guess. So
Oh, really?
He's saying, who's going to pay for this? And so they're checking into it, and they're saying, yeah, there's definitely some problems and issues there when this home was built. They didn't consider the runoff sufficiently, or if they did, the contractor or the developer did not follow the rules required, by the village.
As in a topographic chart.
As something like that, yes. So anyway, so that will continue, but Suba Sarda said it's unconscionable. They cannot, take responsibility. They have to take responsibility for this and get it fixed.
Right.
So that's the objective.
What's the fix?
Well, the first thing they're going to do is meet with the attorney. And the attorney is going to review things in a closed session.
Was there any damage done from all this water running?
Oh, yes, in the man's basement, I'm sure.
Oh.
He said that there was roughly about a half a foot or a foot of water, down in the basement. Not to mention out in his yard.
Well then.
Like you said, he had water frontage. Not a good thing. So anyway, so they're going to correct that, hopefully take care of the issue, and the gentleman should be satisfied when it's all done, I would
It's
think.
called The Village Steps Up.
Village did step up, yes. The other thing is, excuse me, they brought up the fact that the replacement for the police chief, who is Mr. Solwald, Sergeant Solwald, was appointed, and they said, well, we have an ad going out looking for a new police chief.
So he's acting police chief right now.
He's acting police chief.
Okay.
And they said, we have an ad going out searching, for another police chief or a police chief to fill this spot. But the recommendation was made not to pursue that, and to wait until after Mike Solwald's interview or review takes place,
Okay.
which makes sense.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
so
It was
that
a natural choice. Too.
Right, that was approved, and he was a natural choice.
And he was recommended by the outgoing chief.
He was, and I believe he's been on this force for about 17 years too, same as the chief has. So they came on pretty much together. So it goes back a long,
17 years?
17
Are you
years.
sure?
I'm pretty sure. He said he came on when the chief came on. So I would think 17 years. If not, this is another rumor.
Okay.
Okay,
Fact checkers will.
fact checkers will find out,
Right.
yes. Oxford Village DDA meeting was the next thing we want to talk about. And Sue Bassarded is the chair for this, as she is in other groups. And Dorothy Johnston serves on that board. Pete Schultz, the fire chief. Rod Charles, everybody knows Rod with the Lone Ranger and other things that he's involved with in the village and the township. Sam Barna, who's with the school system, administrator there. Gino Malaya, I'm going to massacre it, aren't I?
Malia.
Yeah, I knew I could always count on this guy once in a while,
Yeah.
and a great while, once in a while.
I pull
A
you
wonderful
out. I
time.
pull you out every now and then.
Whenever. Right. So anyway, that worked. Thank you. And Regina Woodson with the AAA, she serves on that board, as well as Susan Schur, and of course myself. I'm representing the township on that board. And Joe Young, as the village manager, is also with the board. They did a pledge, of course, in the introduction of the acting police chief, Mike Sowald. And he stood up and he said, I have basically an open door policy. So he said, if you have any issues or anything that I can do to help,
Just go out that open door.
just go out that open door. Just go out the same way you came in.
No, I'm sure not.
But another rumor, this time spread by him.
No.
And by the way, I'll show you which way he goes home, Chief.
Oh, no.
So anyway, paybacks. Treasurer's report was approved, and interviews for the DDA director was scheduled for March 2nd, which is coming up soon. It's going to be 4:30 p.m. and they're going to interview. I understand there's 3 solid individuals, 3 good candidates, for the replacement of Joe Frost
Oh,
as the
okay,
DDA
yeah.
director. So they'll be interviewed. Sign for the hometown brewery. They did talk about signage. They're going to put a sign on the front of the building, one on the back, I guess.
So is this the one that was in the old Vets Hall, or
Yes.
the one that's further down the street?
Good shot. Vets Hall.
Okay.
Yep. And there, I don't know if you know, but there's monies available, for signage through the DDA, and they provide $1,500 in this case. The signs themselves are going to cost probably close to $8,000 or so.
But a little bit helps.
Well, this will help, and of course it was designated for a sign, and one sign alone will cost this company roughly about $2,500 or $3,000. So this is nice to be able to help the guy out, starting out. So that was approved. Let me see, computer desktop. They did talk about desktop and also a tabletop computer. And
For what?
for the DDA. Apparently the laptop that they're using right now, the keyboard doesn't work. So they use another laptop sitting on top of that laptop for the keyboard. So that's not a good thing. And Sue Bassarded says, somebody has to do something about this, and it's got to be done now, because she says, I use this now since the DDA director is gone.
Yeah, you can't believe how many pens I've gone through so far.
Yeah, right. And plus they're looking for a tabletop unit as well. And we'll
Okay.
discuss more about this when we come back right after this. Welcome back to Minutes by Minutes. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kennedy.
And we are talking about computers and for the DDA. And we were just discussing, what computers they're looking for. And I said, one of the computers is a laptop, and the laptop has 16 gigabyte of memory, and it has 250 gigabyte of hard drive.
To which I responded, that's a little top heavy for that little
Right.
hard drive.
And then I explained it was an SSD, and he said, what's that? And I said, well, that's
What's that? I know what that is.
see the rise I get out of him when I say something that he really knows? Okay, but that's a solid state disk drive instead of a mechanical drive that you would have in it. But you can get a mechanical
Otherwise
drive.
known as a really big flash drive.
Right? Or a stick. But anyway, actually you can get a mechanical drive for 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte pretty easily. 16
And you
gig,
can plug them right into the USB ports.
right? But the 16 gigabyte of memory is pretty good. I mean, it should make this
Oh, yeah.
rascal fly, right?
Yeah. What kind of a chip does it have?
I think it has a Pentium. I'm not sure.
Well, yeah.
Drive. Yeah, I'm
10
not
years
sure.
ago, I had a Pentium.
Yeah, I'm not sure though. It could be updated. I don't know.
It's probably an i5 or an i7.
Could be. Who knows?
You do.
Take a note.
Won't tell me.
Right. And also, they're looking for a desktop computer. That one, again, has, I believe, 250 gigabyte of drive.
A
And there's no-
desktop with
yeah.
SSD drive?
No SSD. I don't believe this one has SSD.
That's pretty puny then. If it's
But
got
that
a
was
hard
only like
drive.
$400 and some for
Oh,
that one.
well,
So
that-
you can see why. But actually,
Usually
for
they have
$400 some
a
dollars,
1 terabyte drive
Yeah.
is nothing.
right? You can get that for $400 some dollars. But the guy that they are using for this is somebody that is well known in the area. He owns Multi-Tech Solutions,
Okay.
and he does work for the fire department. And Pete Schultz,
He's a
knows
fireman?
him pretty well. He's not a fireman, no, but he does all the village computer work.
Oh, okay.
And I said, well, that's not much storage out there. And their response was, well, there's storage on the village computer, extra storage. I said, why, do you have a separate server? And Joe Young, the village manager, said, yes, we do. But he didn't elaborate further. I found out later that there's no connection with a DDA computer so they can access that as storage because they don't want anybody into the village computer because it's proprietary, only to the village. I did find out, though, that the DDA computer would access the printer. Now, you can imagine this. They print out over in the DDA office, which is way across the building. And then in order to get their printout, they got to walk over to the village in order to get the printout. It seems like a
So
standalone.
they're buying a new printer?
It seems like a standalone would be the way to go.
And
What do
they're
you
not
think?
that expensive anyhow.
No, they're not. Fairly inexpensive. I saw the other
Unless
day.
you're putting out massive amounts of
Right.
mails or whatever.
Well, there, if they keep the Ethernet cable connection to it, they can still do the massive amount if they want on the village computer.
Oh,
But
sure.
That would, as a rule, save a lot of
You mean the printer?
on the printer. Yeah, right. On the server,
Right, not the computer.
not the computer. All right, you got it. Okay, so that's the history on the computer, and of course they put that on the shelf for a little while to review it a little bit more extensively. Also suggested that other bids be taken, and Regina Woodson suggested 3 bids rather than a single bid on this, so that we know that we're in the right ballpark in terms of features and price.
Does
in
this,
accordance.
does this include all the software? Or is it just going to use the current software?
Get this, the specification was asking for Windows 7.
What?
What? Yes, I said, what? And so did everybody else. What? But that was Windows 10, we said would be a specification that you'd want to have for this as well.
Right.
And so my question came as, well, if they were using the server, which is what I thought they were doing in the village, maybe the server over there is Windows 7, so maybe they wanted to, make sure it was compatible. Well, I found out that the village unit is Windows 7, but they're not using the server, so they can upgrade to Windows 10. And I asked the village, why didn't you upgrade to Windows 10 when it was free? Never thought about it. So anyway, at that point, he says, well, we can update now, or they said we can update now, but it's going to be expensive to do
Maybe
it.
they were afraid that some of their software wouldn't work with Windows 10.
Right. It's been a good, Windows,
Which is pretty much a non-issue. Everything seems to work with it.
yeah, everything here we've changed to Windows 10, with the exception of your computer, which is still dogging along.
I have a Bethel computer.
And once in a while I hear this, why is my computer so slow?
It's not the fact that it's a Windows 10 or a Windows 7.
Oh, it's the guy
your
behind it,
it's
the
your
keyboard.
network.
It's the way you handle the keyboard. I
Yeah,
mean,
right.
this that just doesn't fly. Okay.
I have 10 fingers. I use them all.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but you don't use them for the keyboard.
Oh, well.
Anyway, so I think we beat this computer pretty much to death. What do you
Yeah.
think? Let me see. What else did they do? They said multi-text solution. Okay, they said, where is this money going to come from? That was a good question. And so they said, well, we have $20,000 available in the contingency fund. It's kind of interesting to note that the DDA, of course, were bankrupt about a year ago, or just about on the fringe of it. A little longer, maybe 2 years, year and a half. Time flies when you're having fun, huh?
Yeah.
So anyway, right now they're pretty much in the black. I mean, they're doing a good job in recovery,
I see.
but they still
Where,
have to,
where do they get their funding from?
the funding actually comes from the state.
The
a lot of
DDA?
it. DDA, yeah.
Okay.
It's controlled by the state in terms of what they can
So
do
they're
in
not
charter.
totally dependent on the village.
Well, the village is responsible for everything, even though the DDA has funding coming to it. If for some reason they don't pay their bills, the village is guaranteeing, the expense or the cost. You know what I'm saying?
I
don't.
do.
You do?
That was a long way around the. That was a long way around the park.
Yeah, but your eyes have tears in them. Why is that? Okay, I got it. So anyway, so that took care of the DDA meeting pretty much, and then we're going to go on to the NODA meeting, and a 9-member board on the NODA, and that would be Mike McDonald on that board.
He heads up Village of Leonard
Yep, and also Margaret Payne, who's representative of
Township,
Oxford.
right?
Sue Bassardit. Yes?
The
Village of Oxford, yes.
Well, I have to
Okay.
help you all the
Yeah.
time.
Well, you started. I mean, the rock is rolling downhill, and all of a sudden it stops. Okay,
Just like that pregnant pause.
right. Lori Fisher,
Addison Township.
yeah, treasurer there.
Yeah.
And Ken Davenport. I got you on this one.
Yes, you do.
Okay. Chris Barnett. You recognize that name?
No.
You don't?
He's from Lake Orion.
Yeah.
Orion.
Orion Township.
Yep.
Supervisor.
But who was the other one?
The other one is Ken Davenport, and I think he's with Lake Orion.
You think?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Take a note.
Yep.
Okay. And then we have, let me see, Chris Barnett is the assistant chair, and Bruce Pearson was running a little late, so Chris later thanked him when Pearson showed up, that thanks for letting me sit in your chair.
Oh.
So anyway, so he did conduct the meeting, Chris Barnett did. Brenda Wilson also, and she's from, I believe, Lake Orion as a representative, or Orion Township.
Okay.
So, and then of course Bill Dunn sits on this board too. But I heard a rumor he was fishing.
Really?
Yeah, he was out fishing in
what?
Canada. Once in a while he gets a little time off. They cut the string to his leg, in the chair. They let him go to Canada or wherever he wants to go.
Well, then.
Yep. But they have this collar around his neck. They give him a jolt when it's time to come back. Anyway, we'll spread that rumor, right?
Well, they may let him back across the border. I don't know.
Oh yeah, knowing Bill Dunn, he'll find a way. Not like Mexico. I mean, you walk right around across the Canadian border, pretty much. Right? You would know.
I hear they're building a wall.
Right? With that, we'll be back right after this, folks. Welcome back to Minutes by Minutes. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we are talking about the NODA meeting that went on, and of course, they had the Pledge of Allegiance. They got all the preliminaries out of the way. The minutes, read those for last month. They did a director's report with Lynn Gustafson. Did I say
You
that
got
right?
it right this time.
Hot diggity dog, you almost got me trained. Okay, anyway, she gave a report that there's a couple of grants that are outstanding that she's hopeful for. One is $99,000, a little over, and another one is
Specifically targeted for things or what?
well, it goes into a general fund, I think, for
Really?
yeah.
For a grant?
for I don't know if it's for busing or what, but anyway, there's also a $51,000 grant that's kind of poising to jump into the coffers, but there's a 50-50 grant on that one. It means you got to provide 50% of the funding. On TV, did an interview with Lynn Gustafson not long ago, and
On TV is our neighborhood Lake Orion station.
Peg Central, and they are supposed to send a copy of that over to us as well.
Oh, good.
So you should
good.
be able to catch it on OCTV here at some point.
Yeah, we get along well with them.
We do, yeah. They're good neighbors. Let me see. She said that 5 vehicles have to be sold. They're used vehicles, and they can be seen on their website, which is NOTA, N-O-T-A, RIDE, R-I-D-E.org. So if you'd like to have a bus, check it out.
Wheelchair accessible.
Yeah. Also, they're going to put it on a list for an organization called Mitten, M-I-T-T-E-N. Don't ask me to tell me what it is. You'll tell me, right?
Well, you come from Michigan, you know what mitten means.
Right. That's good. And we'll say that that's what it is. Okay. Let me see. It's the only government usable, though. In other words, the audience is only government that uses this site. So if another organization, let's say DDA or another group,
Or Bob.
or Bob the Builder, Bob the Builder,
Right.
okay, if he needs one of these, and so he can order it through that. No public comment. Surprising. Okay. Bills, $43,326.86.
Costs money
that
to
was
keep those
approved.
buses running.
It does. Not to mention the drivers and the fuel and all the good stuff. Old business, articles of incorporation. Remember we talked about that, I think,
Yeah.
last time? Act 196, which would allow them to be incorporated. Well, there's a lot of disagreement with that. Mike McDonald.
What's the advantage?
Well, you work as one entity rather than having to go to each group and
But
determine.
yet you're still funded by each group.
You're still funded through the taxes, and that's what concerned Mike McDonald. That he didn't want it to become, for example, a fixed route.
Yeah,
Bus service.
Well, I'm sure the municipalities want some say as to those things, the mapping, the
Right.
routes and what have you.
Well, he didn't like the way it was worded, in terms of a description of
Okay.
what they could do within their charter or within their proposal. And he said that is the goal of NOTA to become a public transportation service, or is it for the handicap and people that don't have the money for other transportation to get to work or other services? And they came with the overall opinion that it would not be in the best interest of all the townships and villages to have public transportation. As a matter of fact, one of the things you recall was a trolley system that came up. And that
What became
one,
of that?
it burned.
Oh.
Never made it past, conversation. So
But was that part of NOTA?
that was part of NOTA, yes. They made the suggestion that would be a good transportation device. But
But it was
again,
kind of outside their scope in a way.
it is, because that then would determine that it would be public transportation. And that's not the whole purpose behind this thing. So I think Mike McDonald and some others that spoke were probably right in going this direction. And Sue Bassardit from the village, she spoke on behalf of what
Maybe that's
Mr.
something
McDonald did.
the respective downtown development authorities of Lake Orion and Oxford could get together on.
It's possible there's some other way, they could do this. As a matter of fact, they
Yeah.
brought up the RTA. And of course, most of the people on this board, they said, you remember the RTA,
No, I don't.
the transit thing that they tried to get through? The Rail Transit Authority
Oh, the one that everyone turned down?
from Detroit, yeah. Excuse me, not everybody turned them down, but Oakland County did, and some other counties as well, because it has no benefit. to our residents.
No bang for
No
the
bang
buck.
for the buck. So they said, well, let's take a look and see what's going to happen down the line, because they know that they didn't get the millage the last go round. Probably won't the next time unless they do it differently. So they said, well, let's put a sabbatical on this for 2 years. So they did.
And all the municipalities in North Oakland County said, what's in it for me?
They
And
did.
the answer was, meh.
Well, I got to ask you, what's coming up?
Well, we do have some meetings, it being the end of the month. On 2/27 at 4 o'clock, our parent organization, the Oxford Area Cable Communications Commission, will be meeting.
Can
at
you
the
tell me
village
more?
offices. We will after the meeting.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
On 3/2 at 4:30, the Downtown Development Authority will
Again.
be having a special meeting.
Yes.
And
That's by the way, I want to say that special meeting is going to involve the interview of the 3 candidates,
oh, well,
for the director.
so they've got 3 already.
Well, they got 3
Okay,
possibilities.
all right.
Okay.
And on 3/6 at 7 o'clock, the Village of Oxford Zoning Board of Appeals, and you know how that goes, you got to check because sometimes they get canceled. And on 3/7 at 7 o'clock, the Village of Oxford Planning Commission, which gets canceled sometimes, but not as much as the ZBA.
CBA is, yeah, you never know.
Right.
A few other things I want to mention here, and that is the Oxford Township had a budget meeting yesterday, as a matter of fact, last night. And they did approve some things. There's 4 water tanks with the water system that are where they welded them on stainless steel tanks. By the way, these aren't itty bitty little buckets. These are massive tanks.
And what?
They're going to repair them.
Oh.
Okay, and that was approved, and it's to protect your water.
So if
out
they're
there.
going to weld the tank, that means they have to empty the tank.
They will empty the tank. Right now, one is not usable at all. It's
Oh.
completely shut down. So there's 4 of them.
Are any of the residents suffering because of that?
Now, you out there, the residents won't see anything here in terms of experiencing water issues.
Okay.
They just want to make sure that the water system is as pure as you can have. So they're going to have to do this. They approved it. Water line to the Lake Villa, it was also approved. So that'll be going through as well. And the money's appropriated. Pontiac Street repavement. Now they're going to repave Pontiac Street from Drainer Road to the library, which would be township.
Okay.
And you folks that have traveled that road will understand that road is a mess.
Well,
Your car will shake,
there's an
shake and
occasional
chamois and
bump and
Yeah.
pothole.
can you call them potholes?
Well,
They're kind of black holes. So anyway, so they're going to fix that for you. There's
large roadway cavities. How's that?
right, that's true. Large cavities. Well, those are all going to be repaired, and thanks to the township. And there's other issues too. And if you want to catch the whole meeting, you can catch it on OCCTV.org and catch the whole meeting.
Absolutely.
Okay. Until then, next time, I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
Catch you right here on Minutes by Minute.
Thank you. Good Lord, my voice was